Clint Eastwood walked into the small, unassuming coffee shop with the same quiet confidence he carried with him everywhere he went. It was early morning, and the shop was still half empty, the soft hum of the espresso machine filling the air. Clint didn't want any fanfare today. He wasn't there for the glitz or the attention. He simply wanted a cup of coffee before his day began. Behind the counter, a young woman named Lily was busy preparing orders. Her apron was slightly worn, a reminder of the long shifts she had been working to save up for the upcoming arrival of her baby. Her pregnancy was starting to show now, and while it brought her excitement, it also brought her anxiety. As much as she had dreamed of becoming a mother, the reality of raising a child on her own was daunting. She worked long hours at the coffee shop, trying to make ends meet, but there were days when it all felt like too much. Lily saw Clint walk in, but she tried not to make a big deal of it. After all, she was used to seeing celebrities around town, but there was something different about Clint. His presence, the way he carried himself, wasn't about the fame or the screen. It was grounded, humble. He wasn't some star who expected everyone to treat him differently. He was just another person like her. That made Lily admire him even more. Clint approached the counter and ordered his usual, a black coffee. He didn't ask for anything fancy or extravagant, just the simplicity of a good cup of coffee. He paid with a card and gave Lily a polite smile, his eyes momentarily locking with hers. She smiled back, a little shy, but she couldn't help but notice the look of quiet strength behind his eyes. It was as if he understood the world better than anyone else, and carried it with ease. As Clint walked away to wait for his coffee, Lily couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. The anxiety about her future, her baby, and her job seemed to weigh on her more than usual today. She felt overwhelmed, lost in her thoughts, wondering how she would manage everything on her own. There were days when she felt like she was doing everything right, but others when the fear of the unknown took over. When it was time to hand Clint his coffee, Lily carefully placed the cup on the counter. As he reached for it, something compelled her to write something on the receipt. It wasn't much, just a few words, but it felt important. The note read, "Thank you for your quiet strength. It gives me hope that I can do this on my own. I'm scared, but I'll try my best." She left the note there, not expecting him to read it, but hoping it would somehow reach him. Clint picked up his coffee and noticed the note immediately. He read the words quietly, his brow furrowing slightly as he absorbed them. A smile slowly spread across his face. There was something about the vulnerability in those words that struck a chord with him. Clint wasn't just a man of action on screen. In his heart, he understood the power of courage in the face of fear, of resilience even when things seemed impossible. He glanced up at Lily, who was back behind the counter, her attention on a new order. He didn't say anything at first. He didn't need to. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small card. It was simple, just a card with his name and a handwritten note. He left it beside the receipt, right where she could see it. The note read, "You don't have to do this alone. Strength isn't about never feeling scared. It's about continuing, despite the fear. You've got this." With that, Clint turned to leave, but not before giving her one last reassuring glance. Lily stood frozen for a moment, staring at the card in her hand. For the first time in a while, she didn't feel alone. She didn't know what the future held, but in that small, unexpected gesture, she found a little bit of the hope she had been searching for. The next few days passed by in a blur for Lily. Her thoughts were still consumed by the unexpected kindness Clint Eastwood had shown her. It wasn't just the note that had touched her. It was the way he had looked at her, like he truly understood the struggles she was facing. She had spent countless nights worrying about how she would manage once her baby arrived. The idea of doing it all on her own, with no support system, felt like an overwhelming burden. She had tried to keep up appearances, to act like everything was okay, but deep down, she was scared. As she sat down one evening after another long shift, the weight of everything seemed to hit her all at once. She thought about Clint's words. Strength isn't about never feeling scared. It's about continuing despite the fear. You've got this. Somehow those words brought her a sense of peace. It was like a light had flickered in her heart, a tiny spark of hope that maybe she could do this after all. The next day, as she worked her shift, Lily kept an eye on the door, half expecting to see Clint walk in again. She didn't know why she felt the need to see him, to thank him properly for his kindness, but she did. When the door opened and the bell chimed, she looked up from her task, and there he was. Clint entered the shop with his usual calm demeanor, a soft smile playing on his lips as he saw Lily behind the counter. She felt her heart skip a beat. For a moment, she almost couldn't believe it. Was he back just for his usual coffee? Or had he come in for another reason? Clint approached the counter, and this time, Lily greeted him with a little more confidence. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady. "Good morning," Clint replied, his voice warm. "How's everything today?" He asked it so simply, as if he didn't already know the answer. "Better than yesterday," she replied with a small smile. "Thank you again, I didn't expect it, but your note really helped." Clint's smile deepened. "I'm glad it meant something to you," he said. "Sometimes we all need a reminder that we're not alone in our struggles." Lily nodded, her throat tight. She wanted to say more, to tell him how much his simple gesture had meant to her, but the words stuck. Instead, she took his order for his usual coffee, black, just the way he liked it. As she prepared the drink, Clint leaned against the counter and asked, "How's everything going with the baby?" His voice was soft, and Lily felt an unexpected sense of relief. Here was a man who didn't treat her like a stranger or a victim of her circumstances. He treated her like a person, as if she mattered. It's getting real now," she said with a laugh. "I'm starting to feel the weight of it all. I know I'll be okay, but some days, it's hard." Clint nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I understand. It's not easy, but you'll get through it. You're stronger than you think." There was something about his words that calmed her down, as if she could breathe easier for a moment. He wasn't just giving her empty words of encouragement. He meant it. She handed him his coffee, and as he reached for it, he slipped a small piece of paper into her hand. "Just remember," he said, his voice low, "you're not alone. And sometimes the people who make the biggest impact are the ones who don't even know they're doing it." Lily looked down at the paper her hand and her heart skipped when she saw what was written on it. "Believe in yourself. You've already come so far, you've got this." Clint gave her one last smile before he turned to leave, the door chime ringing behind him. Lily stood there for a moment, staring at the note, her mind racing. There was something so simple, yet powerful about Clint's belief in her. She had never asked for his help, but he had given it freely. He had reminded her that she was capable, that no matter how overwhelming things seemed, she had the strength to overcome them. She looked at the note again, her eyes misting over. She didn't know where her journey would take her, but she now had a newfound strength inside her. She was ready to face the future, with hope, courage, and a belief in herself that she hadn't had before. The days that followed were still filled with challenges, but they no longer seemed as impossible to overcome. Lily found herself waking up each morning with a sense of purpose she hadn't had before. The fear that had once gripped her heart seemed a little less heavy. She no longer felt quite as alone in her journey. Clint's words kept echoing in her mind, reminding her that she didn't have to face this alone, and that strength was found in moving forward, even when fear tried to hold her back. One afternoon, after finishing a particularly grueling shift at the coffee shop, Lily sat down at a small table by the window, sipping on a cup of tea. She watched as the world outside continued on, oblivious to the battles people faced behind closed doors. Her mind drifted to Clint and the kindness he had shown her. She had started to believe in herself again, but there was still something missing. A sense of connection, a belief that the world hadn't forgotten her, that there were still people who cared. It wasn't long before Clint walked in again. This time she didn't hesitate. She walked right up to him, a genuine smile on her face. "Hey, Clint," she said, her voice warm. "I just wanted to thank you again. I've been thinking about what you said, and it's helped me more than you'll ever know." Clint looked at her with that same quiet strength, his eyes soft with understanding. "I'm glad to hear that," he replied. "Sometimes all it takes is someone else believing in you to make all the difference." Lily nodded, feeling a lump form in her throat. She hadn't realized how much she had needed someone to believe in her, someone who saw her for who she truly was. Not just a pregnant young woman working a minimum-wage job, but someone with dreams, strength, and the capacity to overcome whatever challenges life threw her way. Clint ordered his usual coffee, but this time, before he left, he handed her another card. "This one's for you," he said. Lily took it with a mix of gratitude and curiosity, knowing that whatever was written on it would be something she would carry with her for a long time. The note inside read, "You're never as alone as you think you are. Your strength is already inside you. All you have to do is trust it. I believe in you." As Clint left the shop, Lily stood there for a moment, feeling a wave of emotion wash over her. She had always been afraid of relying on others, afraid of asking for help. But Clint's kindness had shown her that sometimes people don't just give. Sometimes they empower. They remind you of what you're capable of, even when you've forgotten yourself. That evening, as Lily sat in her small apartment, the note from Clint in her hand, she felt a surge of determination. She wasn't going to let fear control her anymore. She wasn't going to let the uncertainty of the future stop her from stepping forward. She had a purpose now, a belief in herself that came from the strength of someone else's faith in her. Clint had shown her that even in the darkest moments, a small gesture of kindness could change everything. It wasn't just about his famous name or his reputation. It was about the person he was, the quiet, unwavering support he offered when it was least expected. Lily knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would still be days when she doubted herself, days when the weight of motherhood and everything that came with it would feel unbearable. But with the lessons Clint had taught her, about strength, resilience, and the importance of believing in yourself, she knew she could handle anything that came her way. She wasn't alone anymore. She had everything she needed inside her, and now she had the courage to trust it. As the weeks passed, Lily's confidence continued to grow. The days were still long, and the challenges of pregnancy and work hadn't disappeared, but something had changed inside her. She felt like she was walking through life with a sense of purpose she hadn't had before. Clint's words had given her the strength to keep going, but there was also something else. She had started to believe in her own ability to handle the tough times. She had started to feel that she wasn't just surviving, but actually living, moving forward. One morning, as Lily arrived at the coffee shop for her shift, she felt a strange sense of anticipation. It wasn't unusual for Clint to come in at this time, but today felt different. She felt a connection to the day, like something was going to happen. When the door chimed, she looked up, and sure enough, there he was. Clint Eastwood, walking into the shop with that same calm, assured presence. He smiled at her, and Lily couldn't help but feel a sense of warmth fill her chest. "Good morning," Clint said, his voice steady and kind. "How are you today?" "I'm doing better," Lily replied, a smile tugging at her lips. "It's been a little tough, but I'm making it through." Clint nodded knowingly, his eyes reflecting a depth of understanding. "I know the feeling. Life has a way of testing you, but it also gives you the strength you didn't know you had." As he ordered his coffee, Lily's heart swelled. His simple, reassuring words had a way of making the weight of her worries seem just a little lighter. "I'm really grateful for everything you've done for me, Clint," she said, her voice quiet. "You've no idea how much your kindness has helped me. You've made me believe in myself when I couldn't." Clint looked at her, his gaze unwavering. That's all anyone really needs. Someone to remind them of their own strength. Lily smiled and handed him his coffee. As he took the cup, Clint paused for a moment. He reached into his pocket and pulled out another small card. This time there was no note inside, just a single, powerful message. Believe in yourself even when no one else does. You're capable of more than you think. Lily felt her breath catch in her throat. Clint had given her another gift, one that was more valuable than any material thing she could imagine. She could feel the sincerity in his words, the belief he had in her. As he left the coffee shop, Lily stood there, holding the card close to her chest. It was as if, with each passing day, Clint's words had become a part of her, a constant reminder that she was strong, capable, and deserving of all the good things that life had to offer. Over the next few weeks, Lily's life continued to change. She made peace with the challenges ahead, accepting that not everything would be easy, but knowing that she could handle whatever came her way. She reached out for help when she needed. It stopped carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders and began to build a support system for herself and her baby. When the day came for Lily to give birth, it was a quiet, peaceful moment, a stark contrast to the fear she had once felt about becoming a mother. She had done it. She had faced the fear, embraced the challenges, and come out stronger on the other side. She named her daughter Hope because that's exactly what she felt. A deep, unwavering hope for the future, for herself, and for her baby. As Lily cradled her newborn daughter in her arms, she couldn't help but think back to that moment in the coffee shop when Clint had first changed everything for her. His kindness had sparked something in her, a belief in herself she hadn't known she needed. It wasn't just the big gestures that had made a difference, it was the simple act of showing up, of believing in someone when they couldn't believe in themselves. Clint Eastwood hadn't just helped her get through a tough time. He had shown her that she was capable of handling whatever life threw her way. And for that, Lily would forever be grateful. A few months later, as Lily sat in the park holding little Hope in her arms, she reflected on how far she had come. The woman who had once felt overwhelmed and alone was now a mother, strong and capable, navigating the challenges of parenthood with a new sense of confidence. Hope was her world, her heart, and every day she was grateful for this little miracle. The sun was setting as Lily watched the golden light dance across the grass, her thoughts drifting to Clint once again. It had been some time since she had last seen him, but his words continued to echo in her heart, guiding her through every challenge, reminding her of her strength. One afternoon, while she was out for a walk with Hope, Lily ran into Clint once, again. He was sitting on a bench watching the world go by with that same quiet composure. She hadn't expected to see him, but somehow it felt like fate. With a smile, she walked over to him, holding Hope in her arms. "Hey, Clint," she said, her voice warm and full of gratitude. Clint looked up and his face lit up with recognition. "Lily," he said, standing up to greet her. "It's good to see you again. And who's this?" He leaned in to take a look at little Hope, who was peacefully resting in her mother's arms. "This is Hope," Lily said softly, a tender smile on her face. "She's the light of my life." Clint's eyes softened as he looked at the baby, a knowing smile playing at the corners of his lips. "She's beautiful," he said, his voice filled with genuine warmth. "You've done an amazing job, Lily. I knew you had it in you." Lily felt a swell of emotion rise in her chest. The man who had changed her life with his quiet words of encouragement was now standing before her, acknowledging the woman she had become. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said, her voice thick with gratitude. "You made me believe in myself when I didn't." Clint's eyes met hers, and for a moment, it felt like the world around them had disappeared. It was just the two of them, two people who had connected in a way that words couldn't fully express. "All I did was remind you of the strength you already had inside you," Clint said gently. "You did the rest." Lily smiled, feeling a wave of emotion sweep over her. It wasn't just the words that had helped her. It was the reminder that she wasn't alone, that there were people in the world who cared, who believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. "I want you to know, Clint," Lily said, her voice steady, "that what you did for me had changed everything. You gave me hope when I thought I had none." Clint gave her a small smile and placed a hand on her shoulder. "That's all any of us can do. Offer hope to others, remind them of their strength. You've carried it with you all along." As Clint walked away, he gave her one final nod, his eyes reflecting the quiet strength that had been his trademark all along. Lily watched him leave, her heart full of gratitude. She didn't know where life would take her, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. With her daughter Hope in her arms, Lily was ready to face whatever came next. She had everything she needed to succeed, and now she carried within her the belief that no matter what, she could handle anything life had to offer. Please subscribe to the channel for Clint Eastwood respect. Thanks.